want to get back to the natural disasters now, and the long, difficult flood recovery continues in northern New South Wales, in southeastern Queensland as well, of course. But the federal opposition leader went up to northern New South Wales today, meeting locals and getting briefings. Anthony Albanese was critical of the government's response, saying it declared a national disaster too late. And he made sure that he did what the Prime Minister didn't do this week, and that is head out for a walk to meet people in the street in front of the cameras.
Oh, my favourite man. How are you?
Still, you never do know how contrived these events are and what they achieve. More of the media and political games that get played, especially when we're in a de facto election campaign. Let's go to the Federal Emergency Management Minister, Bridget McKenzie, in Canberra. Thanks for joining us, Bridget. First up, just on that, Anthony Albanese getting out there, talking to people in the street. You were up there with the Prime Minister. Despite the risks, it would have been the normal thing to do, wouldn't it?
Well, Chris, we met with householders, dairy producers. We also visited the Norco factory, the largest employer in Lismore. We visited ADF personnel and obviously the local council. So we're very, very busy on the ground in Lismore, giving the PM a full suite of the impact right across the economy. And that was really important. I think often some of these events can, as you say, be quite contrived. And I think it was appropriate for the PM to listen to people without them having cameras shoved in their face, etc., to be able to share their stories. For instance, the dairy farmer we visited, tragically lost, had to bury 60 head of cattle on the Tuesday, but another great story of bravery and kindness. His 20-year-old son got the jet ski out of the shed at a little after 3 a.m. in the morning and headed into town and was able to save 35 people that evening. So being able to have those conversations around how both the Prime Minister and I can move forward with the recovery in partnership with the state government was important.
Well, there have been all sorts of moves by state and federal governments and local governments to try and get the recovery underway. It's obviously still going. It's going to go for months. It's a very difficult process and we'll keep tabs on that. But I just want to show you something that you would have seen the Prime Minister say when he was up there in relation to natural disasters and climate change.
We are dealing with a different climate to the one we were dealing with before. I think that's just an obvious fact. And Australia is getting hard to live in because of these disasters.
Yeah, obviously he says that we're dealing with a different climate and Australia's getting harder to live in. Isn't that a bit of an insult to the generations of Australians who have battled floods and fires and droughts, worse droughts, sometimes worse fires, sometimes worse floods than what we've been dealing with in the last decade?
Yeah, look, Chris, I think we do know that these types of events are becoming more frequent and intense at this period of human history. That is a fact. There are people that argue about the cause or otherwise, but under all the modelling, that is actually what our emergency services and the experts tell me as Emergency Management Minister. And in this particular event, we've had the bushfires, COVID, a pandemic, obviously not a natural disaster, and then floods. And many of the communities, we've got 80 local government areas around the country that are impacted by this event. It is a natural disaster of unprecedented event. We had a 1 in 500 year event over Lismore last week. So we're not talking about regular floods, that are quite generational. We're talking about, particularly for that community, something that has not been seen since white settlement in this country. And indeed, I heard when I was on the ground that the Indigenous community there does have stories of a flood breaching certain iconic land, the land kind of, like hills that are in the general area there previously, but nothing in 500 years is how the BOM is regulating this. So we are getting more intense events. But in terms of climate change, our country's, decreasing our emissions by 20%. We shouldn't be, hiding or running from that fact. We're doing better than Japan, better than New Zealand, better than Canada. We need India and China to step up to the plate. But no amount of shutting down an economy or emissions reduction would have stopped the event last week.